All right, guys, I just spent basically my whole morning de-tracking my car. So I'm back to street wheels and tires. I'm back to the street front brake pads. I've gone through everything on the car, and I'm going to walk you through just some bits about the tires, the brake pads, the brake fluid, the brake ducts I installed, had to modify those a little bit. And also I'll throw a picture up here before the next little segment of a sensor on the, it's called the oil pressure control valve. It's not a sensor, it's a control valve. I've got a persistent code now for it after the track. So it's about $100 part. I ordered it from FCP and I'm going to replace it. It basically controls whether you're getting low or high pressure from the oil pump. And my understanding is it's high pressure when you're beating on it and low pressure when you're not. And they fail to having high pressure all the time. So it's not going to hurt your car, but I don't have a check engine light or limp mode or any EPC, but I do have a code. So I've ordered that. I'm going to change it. I hope you find this valuable. Here's that valve. Oh yeah. And I got to wash it. It's horrible. I mean, you got rubber pieces, melted rubber all over it. The front's just hammered with bugs and rubber, and so it needs a good bath. I'll do that. I'll do that maybe this evening or tomorrow. Okay, so here are my tires. These have 7 days on them. The Nexen and Ferris Sport R, 245 4017 on a 17x9. And so these are 7 days used, and I can tell you this one and I think it's these two. No, it's these two are the most worn. So they were up front the longest, and you get that edge wear because I'm camber limited on my McPherson Struck car. I have -2 degrees of camber. I really should have like -3 degrees. So these are going to wear more. So these are now sitting in the back position. I marked the tires. See if one of them shows it. I just get a yellow pen. Yeah, right there. So that one's the right rear. So when I put them back on, I'll put them in the rear position, the most worn. And then these are the fronts. I got like a rock in it. But anyway, these look pretty good. These were what was in the rear. Same here. So these, these tires have 7 days on them. I would like to hope I could get maybe 3 more to make it 10 before, you get rid of them. You kind of have to time this stuff with your events because like I'm going to go, I've got 1 day at Summit in October and then 4 days at VIR in December this year. Or in October, November. So that's 5 more days. I don't think these have 5 days in them. And so what you don't want to do is get to the track, have the cords exposed, and you're done, and you just wasted money on a track day you can't enjoy. Because you're not going to just go find these tires in town. You're going to have to order them. So I'll probably see where I am after Festivus, and I might just call it done and buy new tires for the fall. I'm probably going to try something different. I love these Nexens. Grassroots Motorsports likes these Nexens in their tire reviews, but I think I'm going to try the Kumho V something 730 that a lot of people like, just because it's fun to try stuff. You don't know unless you know, right? So you got to try things to see. So I would buy these again. I would recommend these to anyone. These are awesome. But might try the Kumhos and see how they work versus these. But yeah, maybe you get 8 days and then pitch them. I don't know. The other thing I could do is buy the tires, take them with me, and just have them mounted up at VIR. I think Quantum is right there on site, can mount them for me. So just take an extra set of tires, basically. I mean, I have room in my car, and see what I do. So that's where I'm at on tires. Okay, so here's where I'm at on brakes. So these are the EBC RPX. I had previously tried the RP1, which is like a lower bite pad. These are a very high bite pad. They have a 0.55 MU rating. They're ferocious. I love them, but they don't last. So this is a brand new set of pads, and this is 3 days. So 3 days, there's nothing wrong with them. They're just worn. And ideally, I probably would have only used them for 2 days because the kind of going advice is once this is as thick as the backing plate, you're done. And the reasoning is the wear on the pad accelerates. It's not linear, so they'll wear less at first and more at the end. And because there's just less pad to handle the heat, and you'll transfer more heat to your brake fluid through the pistons. So I mean, with the big brake kit, it's probably not quite as bad as with a factory type setup like single piston, but either way, I used them for 3 days. I had absolutely zero braking issues. I've never had braking issues with my big brake kit and these pads. But 3 days sucks. I mean, they're only $225 though, so you just have to kind of do the math. So if I buy a $600 set of brake pads or $700 set of brake pads, and they last 3 times as long, well, they were for 2 times as much or 3 times as much. You just got to do the math, right? So I am going to try, I think, some pads by G-Lock next. I've reached out to them about my use, conditions, everything I could give them. I'm going to see what compound they recommend. I think probably like the R12, but we'll see, and I'll try those out. And who knows, maybe they don't last any longer. I just don't know. I don't have a super lightweight car, and yeah, it could just be that you're chewing pads. Now the rears, you can't see them, but flashlight here. There. These rears are teeny. They're 272 by 10 rotors with a very small pad. The most aggressive pad I've found off the shelf is EBC Blue Stuff, the high torque, the NDX. I've got 6 days on these pads, and they're at the track, they're 4 millimeters. So they're ready to go. They're fine for the street, but I will probably replace them before next track day. So I'm getting 6 days out of those and 2 days out of these. Backs are fine. I'm not worried about those, but I'm going to try something different up front. And finally, I am going to be changing. I have another 2 bottles of this, I think, and I can probably use it up for my next event. Plus my son's autocross, he needs a fresh bleed. So I think I'm going to move from the, or I am going to move from the RBF 600 to the world famous, at least online. A lot of guys really like this stuff. Endless RF 650. This is supposed to keep your brake pedal firmer for longer and require less bleeding. This stuff basically is 1 weekend and you're done. You need to rebleed it. It comes out dark and nasty from the calipers. The pedal feel changes over the weekend to get a little softer. I don't ever lose my brakes though. Like I don't ever have braking problems. This isn't probably the best stuff. This is probably better as just an aggressive street fluid. This should be a bit, I think like the F1 guys use this stuff. So should be good. I'll try that in the fall. And this stuff, again, it's fine, and it's free from FCP. It's $20 a bottle, but at this point I bought 20 bottles of it over the last 4 years, so it's free with their lifetime replacement. Okay, so RPX pads, this is 3 days on brand new pads. This is the right side, so passenger side, and this was the outer, and that's up. And so they're fairly evenly worn. I think this one's a little tapered more. It's tapered toward the front of the car and the bottom, front bottom on the outer pad. The inner pad is less tapered, and it's actually tapered the other way. It's tapered to the top and the inside. So this side. So they're kind of opposite one another, but there's no way I would use these again. They're just going to go in the trash. I mean, I might have been able to squeak by another couple sessions, but maybe 4 days if you don't go crazy all 4. But yeah, that's about all you're going to get for $225. All right, here's the driver's side, or the left side. These ones look about the same. They're not quite as tapered. The outboard, no, the inboard has the thickest. It's pretty even, but it's got a bit of a taper toward the bottom and the inside. So that's bottom inside taper. And this one is the outboard. That's basically not tapered at all. It's thin, but it's not tapered. So there you go. All right, here's the RS3, the new RS3, the 8Y ducts. What I had to do was trim this piece. That contacted the forward, the wheel. The bottom, I actually trimmed a little here too, like a notch. So that's it. And then, I'm running these Aero Shields with it. My lighting's bad, but yeah, these work. I think they work great. They just need a slight trim. Mine actually cracked a little. God damn it with the lighting here. There's this little crack when I turned it, and it cracked because it pushed against the wheel and flexed, but it wasn't worth fixing or replacing. All right, so quick commentary on my APR big brake kit. I mean, I've had this for like 3 years. I would say if I was going to buy big brakes again for my use, which I'm actually tracking the car with them, I would probably buy one that you can take the pads out the front. Every time you do pads, you have to remove the caliper, which is 2 big 10mm Allens. It's not really that hard. You have to take these little retainers out first, and you take the caliper off, drop the pads, put the new pads. You got to hang in there. It's kind of a pain. You just got to really, I've gotten good at it, but it's certainly not as easy as just compressing the pistons and dropping in new pads. So I would definitely look at that. The other thing I will say, the only other weakness of this kit, the bracket that's bolted back to your knuckle that these Big Tens bolt into, they are just aluminum, and the bolts are steel, and they're not studded, or they don't have inserts or studs, which would be favorable because I stripped out the other side, both top and bottom. Now I over torqued it, but I didn't over torque it that much, and I had Shop put some time certs in them, and I'm probably going to do the same on this side. Kind of just a cost savings that's probably not an issue for most people, but if you're changing your pads 8 times a year back and forth, 16 times each, probably 4 or 5 times a year, it becomes an issue. So this is a nice kit, but you know, if I was going to do it again, I'd probably get a Willwood or AP or one of the kind of motorsport grade